Hey guys, happy Wednesday. Hey JB, g'day. How's the house building going? A very important question. We need updates on that. Peter, g'day. David, it's raining again. G'day. Mark Osborne, hello. David Blarney, hello. 624 Dudley, g'day. Hey Kevin. Stuart, g'day. What's happening? What's happening here? Jeez. Been at work dealing with crazies all day. Kind of glad to be home. I've made a lot of updates on this little engine. I've done a little bit. Just back from Chennai, met with Stefan. Awesome. Mr. Pete isn't dead yet, as much as he's a silly old fool. He just posted another video. This is starting to come together a little bit. I've spent all weekend just fixing mistakes and problems. Oh crap, hang on. That vice just let go when I leant on it. This is... Actually, there's a remarkable little actual wobble in these flywheels, which is a bit strange, but that's the way you get that sometimes by total coincidence. So I don't fix that gear because that still doesn't line up. I'm just going to screw that to a mandrel and face that at some point. I got this key in here, which is actually really good. This one fits nice and it's nice and firm and doesn't wobble or anything. Don't know how tight it's going to stay. I'm going to make some proper keys, like mill them up. These were just filed up and they're not ideal really. Of course, when I went to put the key in this one, I got it out of sync with the balance weight. The balance weight's here. See that? Yeah, the balance weight's here and the key needs to be beside it. And my hands are terrible. They're covered in super glue tonight. So I end up cutting the keyway in the wrong spot without thinking about it, which is something you do. Yeah, he's still a silly old fool, Peter. I shouldn't have to say that, but and the filter comes off, he becomes as much of a fool as anyone. This one, I ended up rebushing this one again for about the 6th time. And it's a fraction loose. It's not terrible, but this key doesn't tighten up. So you're gonna have to make a new key for this. This one. Next job, I guess, is to bolt the cylinder head on. The head's had a bit of a job done on it. I don't know if you can see that. You probably can. You probably can't. You're not supposed to see it. Drilled these 3 holes and didn't think it through as well as I should have, and really drilled them wrong. 2 valves and a port for the spark plug, which goes spark plug goes here between these two. And then there's one valve here and one valve there. This one turned out alright, but these two really weren't good because I only did them in the dividing head and the milling machine, and that's not how I should have done it. So what I ended up doing was make a top hat sort of section piece of cast iron to push press fit in there. Nice tight press fit through there, and then it's got a top hat section with a bit of a lip, so that it actually seals on the front of the cylinder. So that repair's been done, and what I'm going to do is set this up in the dividing head and just put an index mark on the 3 spots. Probably drill the spark plug hole through anyway, because it's just a 1/4 inch drill. And then I'll make a mandrel. I've already made a mandrel actually, with bolts on these 3 holes, and set it up in the 4-jaw on those 2 centres and bore them through, or drill and ream them right through, and then machine the seats on them, and they should all be concentric. Hey John. And then the valve guides press in the back, and they've got to be concentric too. But once that's bolted on there, there's a hole through here from this valve with a plug in the end of it, and then a vertical hole for the muffler, and there's a hole comes through this side for the spark plug, and there's a hole through the other one for the inlet. Hey Darren. Then when that's bolted on, we've got to machine this off level with, focus, this surface here that I've already machined is all got to be flat through here. This has got to come off, and this has got to come off level for the bolt to push right on. So there's about, morning Frank, there's about 5 hours work, probably 6 hours, 7 hours work in getting that to that stage that we can put the push rod on. The push rod looks like this, which is just a piece of square or a piece of rectangle with 2 brass covers on it and a fork on one end. I've actually got a huge big ball race to do the roller, so that might be a good way to do that. And 3 AM for the live stream's crazy, Frank. A very excellent set of parallels there that John Creasy made. Just shout out to him, because they really are very good and get used all the time. This drawing's upside down. There we go. Cylinder head drawing. So coming right through, there's 2 holes here, which is 732 or some stupid size. Then there's 1/32 by 45 degree chamfer for the seats. Canberra, good morning. And then this has got to be concentric. Go Create. Hi Nigel. This has got to be concentric too. So this is where it gets complicated, because this surface here and this hole need to be concentric, because this hole here needs to be concentric in the middle of this one. they're not, then you get valve leak, as anyone who's ever built one of these knows. And I'm sure we've all built one that doesn't work. So I think the best way to do this is to get this piece and drill it all the way through and ream it, a 332 reamer. Then set it up between centres with a little dog on it. And machine this to side to press fit, to size, accurately, between centres. Turn it around and machine the other one. So I think that's the way to do that, and then press them in. So if anyone's got a better idea, good on you. And share it with me by all means, but at this point, that's what I'm going to do. If we get those in there and a few holes in it, then the head's basically finished. And we can move on to other extreme atrocities, like these valves. Not got a great love of machining something 332 diameter, 1.58 long, but I guess it was the first time for getting everything right. Anyone who's got a better idea on that, you can make them up out of 2 bits and then remachine them, but doing them in a collet's a bit of a problem. I think they're best done between centres too. Best done between centres because I'd like to set them up twice. So with the Lorch, this has got to be machined with the compound. So I'd like to get them both right here, between centres, right, the right diameter here, and then swing it round to 45 degrees and finish this detail on the end. And then put them in a collet and machine this end off and this end off. So that's fun. And then there's a couple of those little collars there which hold the pin in place in the spring. Anyway, then we can pressure test it, I guess. I spelled Vegemite on the plans. I don't know what that is. I reckon it's grease or something that's probably been in it. It's probably even part of the... I don't think it's part of the photocopy. It might be a moth or something that's squashed there. I don't know. Could be Vegemite. So there's a fair bit of work in it yet. There's this rotten little cutout arm here. It's got to be made. And there's this governor weight yoke, which isn't fun. And then there's some governor weights that look a bit like this. And I think the only other bits on this particular drawing that we haven't made are the rocker arm. And the points and catch plate and everything there, which goes on the push rod. This one goes on the push rod, and this one goes on the actually onto the block with the spring in it. So a bit of work in all this stuff. It all sounds pretty quick, but if we've done that, the only thing to do on this particular drawing then is this atrocity here, which is the rocker arm. Rocker arm bracket. Won't require brass. Oh, brass isn't so terrible. We can make one of them out of brass. And this bit, which I'm not really in love with as far as a thing to make. And this bit, which I'm also not in love with. Before I do that, I've got to run a lap through this cylinder and make it nice and parallel. So, anyway, that's what's been happening there. two-piece valves are definitely an option. They're fairly long and fairly light, and I've actually bought the materials to make them out of two-piece, but still got to get them concentric, and holding them in a collet to machine the heads doesn't sound like a particularly good idea, but I don't know. Have a think about it. Morning, Paul. There's actually a sign bar sitting there with a drill in it, which I think we're finished with. And I've lost. I completely lost that. Wonder where that went. Crap. Did it fall? Did anyone see where it fell? Hi, Stephen. There it is. It's out of my number drill set. Any idea where my number drill set is? Yep, zero idea. We're going to put it back in the sign bar. This is my solid rock machine shop sign bar. It's actually seen a bit of use. It does get used quite a bit. And that drill is exactly the right thickness, or close enough to the right thickness to get them both the same, to set up the tapered keyway in these flywheels. They've actually got a tapered key in there, which is quarter to the foot or something, eighth to a foot. Russ Knox, g'day. That one's tight. No, this is the loose one. Put that there and we've lost it. This one, I think this key's just had too much off it. It's just a fraction loose. So the key's got a tape on it, but so has the key. Excuse me. So has the flywheel. So the flywheel's got a taper in it as well. To match the key, and that's what keeps them tight. I think that's the secret to that. So I'd like to think I'm halfway with this, but there's still a fair bit to do. We've still got to have oiler on top, conrod and piston, all the governor bits, push rod and rocker and head and everything. This has got a bit of a wobble in it. But anyway, it's only a pressed in fan. And that runs on a belt on here. So that's what I've been sort of doing, and probably more than I should. I probably should leave it alone for a bit and go and do something that actually matters. But it's good fun, and it's coming together all right. So while it is, I'd like to keep going at it. this one 3D print of what this looks like. It goes on that flywheel on the inside over that boss, and then the cabinet weight swing on that. This one here is brass, the drawing says. And that should go on there, something like that, on the cylinder head. The governor weights I don't think look anything like this. I'm going to have a bit of a redesign of this, but it's sort of what they look like. Bit heavier than that, I think. I'm nervous about numerous things. I'm nervous about getting this bore right and getting the piston to fit it properly. I'm nervous about getting the big end on the conrod the right size for that journal. I'm nervous about getting the valves and the valve guides and the valve seats all concentric. And yeah, they're probably the main things that I'm nervous about. I'm not sure this will end up with a proper glass oiler on it. I don't know if I can be bothered with that. It might end up with the oil cup on it, which will do the job. Anyway, that's what we're doing. We're spending an exorbitant amount of time on spare time on that at the moment, which isn't particularly good because there's plenty of other things to do. The boys want to go and do a road run in the roller. At about the sometime in November, I think the first week in November, something like that. So I've got to get the roller ready. And there's those two fittings sitting over there on the bench. It's got to be part of that, which I haven't even attempted to do anything with. I do have the oilers for the bearing cups done, and the big end. That looks better. They need to be stuck in with Loctite or something before the bigger threads will undo easily. Bigger thread than a little thread. I actually just use a steam gasket sealer for this one. This one works. Haven't done this up. So it's just got a little cap on it with a thread in it. And these are just the same. Anyway, it's slowly coming together and it's a big job, but made reasonable. I think Stefan's too busy. We're all too busy for this sort of messing around. But I had forgotten about the steam engine. I'm sure it's still sitting on the shelf somewhere. Now we're here, we might as well remind him. Touched it yesterday. So, they're things that we're doing. I've also got the signboards off the side of the canopy, like the skirt boards off the side of the roller canopy sitting outside that needs some sign writing. I've got a pretty good idea what I'm going to put on them now. And it's just a matter of getting in and doing it. The last couple of times I've gone to put them on an easel, it's been a bit windy, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's not going to happen. But there we go. It's just fairly basic block lettering and some detail. There we go. Probably don't do this because it's not a good idea, but there's a brooch and a tool post for putting slots in flywheels at an angle. I'm not convinced that that's the correct way to do that, and probably you shouldn't do it. So you didn't see it here. I need a new belt, and this situation's getting a bit dire with this. I ended up putting a bit in it and shortening it up. So this has got that many joins in it now. One, two, three. I didn't tell you to do that at all. You do that at your own risk, but I bet you've thought about it. There are reasons why a leather belt is a smart thing. That's probably why Bruce was trying to ring me yesterday and I didn't get back to him. So I will ring him and ask him. There is a product called, it's a very good urethane product called, oh my gosh, what is it called? It's used for, we use it for like leather goods and things, but it's used mostly for horse harness and that sort of thing. It's a composite product. It's very good. And I think it would join okay with this. The issue with putting a continuous belt on it is I've got to pull the spindle out every time I want to adjust it. And there's also no adjustment for tension on this lathe. So we've got a fixed shaft and a fixed shaft. Tell him to buy one off Myford. They're cheap. Like seriously, so cheap. Yeah, I saw Bruce. I missed a call from Bruce, and it was the middle of the day yesterday, and I never had a chance. I'll ring him one night. But there is a very good product, I think, and I'm going to try that because we can get it readily available, and it's about the same size. Like it's available 1" by 8. I think it's an American size stuff. So that's roughly the same size as this, and I think it would probably take like clipper fastening's okay without too much trouble because it's reinforced inside. So I'm going to try that. Watch this space. Anyway, I'm going to tell him to go to Myford and buy a couple of these oilers because they're cheap. And as for flat belt, I think we have something, but I'd better do something about that fairly quickly. Haven't done anything with the steam engine yet. The Bay of Peacock banjo pump, donkey pump, but I haven't seen the drawings yet either. Yes, I've been watching Winky's Workshop. Yeah, it's got some good videos on that. I'm usually pretty good with flat belt and I don't mind it, but this one's been joined so many times it's looking a bit ordinary. I don't think I can get a whole lot more out of it. It ended up just busting off and I've sort of sorted it out. It's just rotten, so it's broken at the end of the clipper. So anyway, it's fixable. There's more joints and belts in it, yeah. So that's where we're at. Really need a new dial test indicator, and I guess I'm going to buy like a new test indicator. I think I'm going to buy I've got an MX indicator there. I'm not all that in love with it. And I've got a digital one, which I'm also kind of not that in love with either. I have this, which I don't like, as far as indicators go. This stand here is a very ordinary. It's a knockoff of a Noga, only it's tiny. It's made in China. Not really in love with it. And this is broken here. A flat chain. So I know someone who's got plans on a website for making bits like this for this, and I don't know whether that's what I want to do or whether I want to put a fine adjuster on it and make something decent. This is a federal indicator. It's half a thou. It's quite a good one. I really like this as far as sensitivity and calibration, and it's sort of a scale that I understand and it works. It clicks through. And it's also reversible, so it's quite a nice little indicator. But this is bent. I don't know if you can see that. It's got a bit of a bend that way, which isn't good. I don't know whether I pull it apart and try and straighten it or whether we fix it. Put the fine adjust on the base. Yes, I've heard that. Yeah, I don't know if I'd even buy a Noga. This size is very good for me. This is about the size I like. But maybe I should sit down and make one, but it's a project. And that's a bit of an issue. This is my measuring tool box. There's an empty box. We could put that indicator in this empty box, I guess. Where it belongs while we're doing it. There might be a reason why it's not in the empty box. Yeah, there is too. Yep. That's not really the answer. I don't need another project at all. These are kind of good. There's one on the bench there somewhere. But these are something I use all the time. They're really good. Someone had a question about, I don't know where that was actually, small hole measuring. These are all right. But if you want to measure small holes, now this is kind of one of the best things I ever bought, right? They're only cheap, and they are imperial. So apologies to all you metric people. You can buy metric ones. But for measuring small hole bores, considering most of the drawers I work to are imperial, these are the best thing. I mean, they're way ahead of anything else. It's, we don't even mess around with anything else. Just buy a couple of sets of those. You don't even need really expensive ones for the sort of work I do. Maybe you're all precision people, but if you build model steam engines, a couple of cheap sets of them. And Juniman Randy, g'day. That's the best way to measure small holes. You've got no go gauge for every size. How cool is that? You just find one that fits, and then you know exactly how much to take out, and you can, yeah. So they're an amazing thing. Just so you know, that's the answer for small hole measuring. It's a set of Starrett centre punches, which probably could all do with a good sharpen. Need to go out to them. I have this indicator, which is way too sensitive for what I use and not anywhere near as useful as it could be. This is Duratast, which is pretty jolly good, and it's the nicest indicator I own. And it works. But it's too sensitive because it's got way too many decimal points. So never gets used. If anyone wants a nice microns indicator, I'd swap it for half the hour version. A set of drills is good too if they're nice and clean. But I'm that was a luxury purchase, that set of pins, and I use them all the time, more than anything else. Also be keen to get rid of this, which is not use nor ornament. Someone's got a museum. Who sells gauge bins? Anyone. I think mine come out of China. Or actually mine probably come from M&S, but they're Chinese. For through holes, this is excellent. And where this is really excellent is for things like, you have to get this open. They're 1 thou. Now you can buy different sets. So on size and under size. I'm sure Stefan would know more about that than me. But they're in 1 thou steps from 061 to 250. That set. And the next set I want to get is from 250 to 500. Or 251 to 500. This is very useful for measuring watch stem tubes or crown stem tubes on watches. But yeah, they come undersized and oversized, I think. Really good question what they are. I think they're an undersized size. An undersized set. This is a special micrometer. I guess you've all seen this. It's got a pin and a flat surface. But this is quite a good thing too. Because it gives you the reading on the taper. Take care, JB. Don't work too hard. And that gives you a reading in a window. 42 thou. Which is very useful for measuring a watch crown. So there's one of these at work. And I've got another one that belonged to my old man. But its actual use is for measuring spray gun nozzles, in case anyone was wondering. I don't know, I feel terrible going through this box with Stefan and everyone watching, because got a few of these. They're nice to have. Good for some things, pretty useless for other things. I think card twists are probably better, to be honest, for most things. I do have a inside micrometer, which is quite a good one, and it's reasonably accurate, and it seems to be reasonably good. But I very rarely use it because I very rarely measure a hole that's bigger than an inch and a half. If I put that down at the bottom, I'll never find it again. It's the one thing that I will use. There's always half a dozen of these poor little imperial micrometers kicking around. This one I don't use a whole lot because it's getting a bit hard to read. It's pretty well battered about. I have a Starrett, which gets used a lot more because it's a much easier thing to read. It's probably the easiest micrometer I've got to read. I've got a metric one too, which is a Michitoyo, and that's a dog of a thing to read, to be honest. It's very easy to get mixed up. Because that line on there, and I don't know why this is, someone might be able to answer this. That line, when this comes back to 0 setting there, the line disappears. So you're only sort of guessing which line you're measuring from. It's a very disconcerting thing. Don't know why that line disappears, or it seems to be on the inside of the thimble. I like a decent micrometer. But I sort of feel a bit like I should sell all these and buy a decent digital micrometer at some point. But this is the one that gets used mostly for this sort of work. And this one gets used a lot because the lathe's metric. In the top there's one of these, which probably also should get sold, to be honest. That's the other thing. Dances with Aardvark says that I'm getting old. This is a pretty nice micrometer, and for a lot of things this is quite useful. I haven't got all the anvils, so it'd be much more useful with a set of anvils. But quite often just use it with a gauge pin. Is that sacrilege? Probably. A lot of these little red boxes, that's a toolmaker square, which is dusty actually, probably more dusty than it should be. It's a pattern maker square, or die maker square, whatever you want to call it, with adjustable taper. It's a fairly useful thing as well. I use a lot. Set of radius gauges in the bottom there. A set of Vanguard angle blocks. They're pretty much useless. My good, that box under there is my good combination square. I tend to find my go-to is still a decent pair of calipers. This isn't them. These are Minimax. This is interesting. Let's see what else I can find here. There's probably about 4 pairs sitting around somewhere. I won't tell you where these were. It might be better if you don't know. These are Minimaxes. These were Dad's. They may need demagnetizing too. That's cast iron. These were Dad's, and these are really nice. They're starting to get a bit worn, but they're not bad verniers. I really like these. They're made in Japan. Stainless 150mm calipers. They're really good. I like them. They're easy to read, and they're pretty nice. I inherited them when Dad passed. Dad bought me these a couple of years ago, which are also Minimax. Also reasonably easy to read, not as nice, because these are just printed on, whereas the others are actually engraved. And these are made in Italy. Now, they're a bit rough. This basically a pop rivet in the end to stop the ink coming out. That's a bit rough. Not really in love with these. So they're not a patch on what these are. They sort of look the same. They absolutely look the same. They're not. They're not a patch. The little drawers are okay. My good set are here somewhere. Just to find them. I reckon they're under these drawings. Yeah, absolutely not under the drawings. Probably over here on the bench. Oh, they could be out on the mill. No, here we go. This is my really good set, I guess. They're Mauser. From Germany, I think. Really like those. Morning, James. So that's calipers. Anyway, this workshop needs more organisation. If someone wants to come and do it, you're very welcome to. This is vernier adjustable. It's got marking gauge, which was built by a gentleman who entered it into the tool making competition a few years ago. Now I've said that magic phrase, you can think what you like of that, but at this point I'm too busy. Seem to have a lot of tools that are more or less out of date. Depth gauge, which I depth micrometer, which I use quite a lot too. I would like very much to make up a Tom Lipton style depth gauge or depth micrometer with a digital indicator on it. And a bar across. That's something I'd like to make. When Joe gets his surface grinder sorted, we might make one of them. Sounds like a very good thing to have. Much more useful than that. These drawers, you're right, they drive me crazy. But they were cheap. And when I close them, everything's in there out of sight, which is really nice. Anyway, that's material storage over there in the corner, sort of. And this is a lathe. We've run into a bit of a problem with this lathe. It's not really a problem, we're working with it. But every time we want to move the saddle in nice and close, we can't move the tailstock back because of this cabinet. So we've got to take it off. It's a bit of a nuisance. It's not a big job to remove it and put it back on, but and we're getting used to it. But anyway. Hey Kimber, watched Kimber's latest milling machine video. Hope things look a little bit brighter in the morning. Rust box, yes, a 3/4 force and a bit in there is probably a very useful thing to put the handle through. That's absolutely something we could do. I've thought about that too. Anyway, that's what's happening in our workshop. Good light's important. This is a really good light. I really like this. It's got a decent arm on it. This one here needs sorting out. It's kind of okay. I've got a loop sitting there. A few oil cans have been knocked over, a bottle of steam oil, a bottle of carton oil. Very, very impressed with that particular oil can. If you can afford one, get one. And yeah, that's what we're up to. I'm sure everyone else is having productive time as well. Probably more so than I am. I really want to get this engine halfway finished, and then I can I'll feel a bit more confident. We'll get it running, and then I'll feel a bit more confident about doing some other stuff here. But right now we've got cast iron here everywhere. This needs a good clean before I move anything. Because all I seem to have done in the last couple of weeks is cast iron machining. So we've got these big drawers, and these are next to useless as well. I'm not even going to attempt to go through any of that. Anyway, that's what's happening here. Joe's crashing about out there. He's got all the spindle apart for the grinder. Trying to sort some stuff out with that. Don't think there's anything particularly wrong with it. It's just got to go through it all. More updates on that next week, maybe. Anyway, I might call it. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Be kind to each other. There'll be some more soon. I'm not sure I'm actually going to get any actual footage of this until it's running. And you may not get any actual video of this at all, is what that means. That may not actually be a thing that's ever videoed as a sort of a proper YouTube video. Anyway, look forward to seeing some content from everyone else and some updates on some projects. Peter's always kind to each other. That's good. Anyway, I'm out. Thanks, guys, and we'll catch you again.